story unfold. The Gold Giraffe audio notes with Gold.
Yo, peace, y'all. It's the Gold Giraffe. Go ahead, pull up a chair, slide into your space, and get comfortable. If you got a pack of incense on deck, light that up right now. Let it hit the room. Let's set the atmosphere. Welcome back to the Gold Giraffe audio notes. This is season 2, episode 10. For a long time, I think I was boxing myself in with this podcast. I treated it like a strict format, but I'm finally realizing how much creative room we actually have to move in out here. This show is a spot where the creativity, the music, and the practical walk all connect. And today, we're going to talk about a real everyday law of execution. We're breaking down a topic that I call spreading the frequency. The physics of creative distribution. Now that may sound a little technical, it may sound a little scientific, but just rock with me on this, y'all. I got you. We looking directly at energy mismanagement during execution. Basically, how to stop running ourselves into spiritual bankruptcy before we can actually hit that finish line. All right, so before we start, let's take a quick inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. We here, y'all. So to really understand this problem, I gotta start with where it hit me in my own walk. So you may or may not know, I've been performing and making music since I was about 5 or 6 years old. I grew up playing the drums, hitting the keys, and just living in the art. But as an independent artist, I fell into this exhausting cycle for years, man. I think the ghosts of Great Gardens just kept chasing me. Back in middle school, I had my first studio project, BBQ, which stood for Before the Big Quantities. We got hundreds of physical CDs printed up, but because I poured every single ounce of my life into just surviving the creation phase, by the time those CDs were actually in my hands, I was completely tapped out. My sound was already evolving. I was literally evolving puberty and I was just disconnected and withdrew from the audience I built. What's crazy is a very similar loop happened in 2011 with my album Your Favorite Bowl of Cereal. Once again, thousands of CDs printed. Real money on the line this time though. But I was so creatively spent from the production process that the distribution felt like a heavy chore instead of art. Even recently with my project Beach Night. When it was done, I was so depleted that I just texted the link to a few close friends and just sat back and kept quiet. I had to get real with myself though. I was putting 99% of my spirit into making the art, leaving only 1% to actually push it out into the world. And by the time the launch came, the fire was completely out. And look, this ain't just an album problem. This is a human problem. And it hits different independent creators across every single medium. Think about the video director who spends months writing a treatment, scouting locations, and exhausting themselves on a grueling 3-day shoot. They edit until their eyes bleed. But when the video is finally rendered, they are so spiritually bankrupt that they just drop it on YouTube at midnight with a generic caption and no rollout plan. And in a sense, the video falls flat because they had no velocity left to push it. Think about an author who pours their soul into a book for years. They fight through the writer's block. They get it printed. But the moment it's time to set up the book signings, pitch the podcast, or build the community around it, they freeze. They withdraw. Think about the entrepreneur launching the clothing brand or a new product line. They spend all their capital and energy on fabric sourcing and manufacturing. But on launch day, their energy is totally depleted. They open the website, post one flyer, but nobody is walking through the door. We are treating our personal energy like it's an infinite well, when God actually designed us with a specific structure. If you pour all your water into the dirt while you're planting the seed, you'll have nothing left to water the harvest when it breaks through the ground. So I went researching. I was studying some of the few OGs of execution, and it brought me right back to how we keep our perspective clean and unforced. First, let's check out this clip of Rick Rubin. You know Rick Rubin, creative mastermind. Listen to how he frames who the work is actually for and how that changes the pressure.
Something I say in the book is that the audience comes last. And I believe that. I'm not making it for them. I'm making it for me. And it turns out that when you make something truly for yourself, you're doing the best thing you possibly can for the audience. So much of why, if you go to the movies, so many big movies just not good. It's because they're not being made by a person who cares about it. They're being made by people who are trying to make something that they think someone else is going to like. And that's not how art works. Art doesn't, that's something else. It's not art. That's commerce. So if we're making art, we're making, it's almost like a diary entry. So could I be concerned that someone else might not like my diary entry? It doesn't make sense. It has nothing to do with them.
Yo, it's a diary entry. Let's really dissect that. The pain point that Rick is really hitting at right here is the anxiety of validation. When you approach distribution thinking, I hope they like this, I hope they buy this, I hope this goes viral, you are letting the audience dictate your worth before they even see the work. That creates a toxic relationship where you feel like you owe them something or they owe you something. For a creative, Rick's words mean absolute sovereignty. When you create purely from a place of honest reflection, like writing in a private journal, the distribution changes. You weren't quote unquote selling a product, you simply sharing the truth. If you ain't stressing whether they like your diary entry, you save massive amount of energy because you weren't carrying the weight of their expectations. What's the cause, y'all? What's the cause? Now, let's look at cause. Cause. Cause is a global giant in the visual world. He's an artist, but today we're going to look at how he manages the everyday distribution of his life and his image.
I mean, the work I make for myself. It's, it's just sort of what I need to do in my mind. It's not, but, you do realize that there is an audience and there's certain ways that you can get the work out there. Like not every artist is interested in social media. I tend to like it. I feel like it's a fun sort of free dialogue with people. Growing up, I'd look at the artists ahead of me and there was like a lot of smoke and mirrors and a lot of sort of like guarding of information and how an image is out there. And I just know I don't want to be that. I want to be, yes, you can come to a space like the Fort Worth Modern and see this exhibition, but you can also, see pictures of like my kitchen on Instagram or my whether what we're up to, what we're eating, and it's not, in 10 years will I regret it? Possibly, but I just feel like it's where we're at now, and I should just try to be honest and open.
Y'all, let me tell you, the pain point that Cause is exposing is the exhaustion of the avatar. So many independent creators feel like they have to put on a mask, build a flawless aesthetic, or create this heavy smoke and mirrors persona just to market themselves. You think you gotta look perfect, talk perfect, and act like a corporation. That garden of information, trying to control how every single person perceives you, is spiritually draining. It's why so many of us withdraw. We don't want to play the character no more. Cause is breaking down the barrier. He's saying the relationship between the artist and the audience should be a free dialogue, not a performance. True distribution doesn't mean you only show the final masterpiece in the museum. It means you let them see the kitchen. When you remove the smoke and mirrors, marketing stops feeling like a deceptive chore. It starts becoming an unforced conversation. Giving yourself permission to just be a human being who makes dope things. And that transparency preserves your wattage. Finally, we're going to look at LaRussell. Y'all know LaRussell, right? He completely changed the independent game by establishing a completely different boundary for his distribution. Let's listen.
I started off making a bunch of different kinds of content to see like what kind of works and feel good. And eventually I got it really narrowed to like what feels best to me and most authentic, how I want to show up and and a lot of my content was just me being me. Right, and that's what worked. That's what went viral. One of my first viral clips is me in the back of my dad's truck rapping Baggage Claim. I was like me with the homies, like we gonna get it off. And then me going, the next Baggage Claim went viral again from me performing it live and doing like a hopscotch dance. It's just, you feel me? So, I found out early what worked for me, and it was live performance content. I was like, I don't want to do all the other shit, so I'm going to just rap. Yeah. I know I could really rap. I know I could perform, so I'm going to just rap, and I'll post that, and hopefully that go, and it start going. And that's always been my anchor. Like, you're always going to be able to go on my page and see me rapping somewhere. Yes. There's some artists where you go and you're like, where, right, what fashion, do you do? All this other stuff, right? But I focalize around like what I do, and then I slowly started integrating other things, the interviews, the photos, the visualizers. But at the base of it, it's gonna be rap.
Ha ha! Larissa was speaking directly to the creative who was overwhelmed by choice paralysis. The pain point here is feeling like you have to do everything to be successful out here. You think you gotta be on TikTok dancing, posting 5 times a day, doing vlogs, editing reels, doing photo shoots, running trends, and liking and replying to every comment. You try to distribute yourself across 10 different avenues, and your energy gets scattered into nothingness. You become a jack of all trades and a master of none, and your audience get confused about what you actually do. Ha ha! I mean, look, LaRussell's law is simple. Find your anchor. The relationship with this audience is built on a single, unbreakable promise. If you come to my page, you're going to see me rap. That's the core output. He didn't worry about distributing interviews or the extra content until the anchor was solid. For a creative, this means you don't owe the audience infinite formats. You owe them clarity. Find that one vehicle that feels the most effortless and honest to your skill set. Anchor your distribution right there, and let everything else integrate naturally over time. Look, y'all, for a long time, I tried to force my creative output through doors it didn't need to go through. But I found my anchor now. This podcast is it. This podcast is where I'm at. It's where I get to connect all the pieces. And the instance line, Good Vibezilla Instance, is the practical physical anchor I share with the community. It's an unforced, honest dialogue. And we protecting the grid now, so my new album, which is called Tomorrow Night, is ready. It ain't out yet, but it's ready. The Substack, the Grand Vibrational Design, it's all rolling, and I'm keeping my focus sharp and energy conserved. So y'all, take a look at your own creative grid this week. Stop pouring 99% of your life into a closed room. Save some power for the porch. So if y'all want to go and support the ecosystem, check out thegoldgiraffe.com, tap into the Substack, grab a pack of incense, keep your space clear. Protect your energy, stay aligned, and let the frequency spread, y'all. It's the Gold Giraffe. Peace.
You pulled me up when I was stuck to the floor of my doubts. You lit me up, turned every shadow to a laugh out loud. Now every step feels like a dance I forgot I knew how to do. I'll catch my breath, but the sprays keep running straight back.